Welcome back. This is Fantastic Pains and How We Hide Them. I'm not Chris.
And I'm not Karina.
But we're here together.
As usual.
For more fun times.
And shenanigans.
All the shenanigans. It's going to get crazy because we're in a mood. It's tired meets ADHD meets...
Hell Week.
Hell Week and coffee.
Yes.
Yeah. This week was cursed. So get ready. It's going to be a fun one.
Ugh.
If this is your first time joining us, welcome. This is our sibling podcast / YouTube channel about life with chronic and invisible conditions, both mental health and physical.
Yep.
And sometimes our Many Voices series comes into play, which is great fun.
Yeah, we do interviews with people, so look forward to those. We have more coming.
Yes. Lots of dark humor, so be aware. It gets silly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Where can they find us?
You can find us on most podcast platforms now, and eventually Apple.
Yes.
We'll get there.
Weird.
Mm-hmm.
I know. If you want to watch the shenanigans, you can join us on YouTube or laugh with us on TikTok.
Yes, we have a lot of really good TikToks.
Yes.
And then join the conversation afterwards or during on Discord.
Yes.
We also do our lives
Yes.
through Discord, so you can come and participate and hang out.
Help us plan episodes.
Yes.
It's good stuff. What are we talking about today?
Today, oh my gosh, what are we talking about
one.
today? It is a good one. We came up with this
excited.
yesterday after we had to mull around. We kind of circled around this thought for a long time, and then we found it, and we're like,
Finally.
So, well, I mean, how do we word this? To live without expectations?
Yep.
How to live expectation free?
Yep.
Because
So
it's easier said than done.
Right. Well, and this concept is due to like the ever-changing nature of chronic and invisible illness.
Yep.
And not knowing what the future holds for us. And this really is a huge thing in avoiding that like massive disappointment or
The despair.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you
Exactly.
can fall into that trap of, oh no, this is forever.
Yep.
And then start expecting the worst.
Yes.
All the worst, though, not just the one bad.
Right,
outcome.
exactly.
Like everything could go wrong. And
Well, and that's where you come into play with like the unhelpful thinking styles
Mhm.
and the like, I've collected data on all of these bad things and forgotten all the good ones that happened in between.
Mhm.
And now I can tell with all certainty that the rest of my life will be terrible.
Yeah, so we'll be talking about that.
Yeah.
But first,
But first, it is time for the weekly recap.
check in.
Indeed. Like we said earlier, it was Hell Week. We had to write it all down because it was a
It
mess.
was a lot.
Yeah. I literally had to go back through our messages to
Mhm.
remember what was happening because thank God we talked to each other and we're like, a stupid thing happened and everything's terrible.
Yeah. No, I mean, I survived the week because of it.
Yeah.
Like when I would hit the really bad points, that's when I'd message you and be like, everything's horrible. I hate this.
Yeah.
And just talking about it helps.
Yeah.
You know?
Right. Well, you get it out of you.
Yeah.
It's that like, expel the demons.
Yeah. Otherwise, you just sit there in it and stew and then become
Yeah.
very bitter and angry
Right.
and spiral out of control.
Mhm. Let's just do it day by day instead of one after the other.
Yeah,
So
that works.
Let's see. Sunday was fatigue day.
Oh my God.
Like I slept almost all day
Same.
and I was not allowed to be awake.
Well, and that was the day I was originally going to move the computer.
Mhm.
Was Sunday. I was like, that's when Jen will have time. We'll do it. Jen had a migraine, like really bad. So
Several
that
times
was
this week.
the pressure changes have been destroying her head. Yeah. So we slept. That was the day that I couldn't move.
Oh, it was bad. Like I think I got up twice
Yeah.
the whole day, and then I ate dinner, but was like, you know, when you like want to cry because you're so tired, your whole body's just like, I give up.
Yeah.
And so I'm eating dinner and trying not to cry because I'm just exhausted. Just not good. But yeah, I was glad it was on a weekend
True.
because I don't
that
need
was
to miss
Monday-
more work.
Oh.
Darn it.
No, you did good this week considering. You
Yeah.
powered through.
Right. Oh my God. And
When you get to Friday, you'll be impressed that she went to work.
Yes. My coworkers were also impressed.
Or
They were like,
appalled.
why are you here? Why? One of them that day, we'll get to it. We'll
Yeah,
get to it one day at a time. So that was Sunday.
Sunday was sleep day.
Monday was pressure change out time.
Yeah, that was the day I hurt myself, yeah?
No, that was
Tuesday. Okay, yeah. So Monday was the day that I was gonna do everything myself, but I
Mhm.
ended up not because
Yeah.
Jen talked me out of it.
There was still some fatigue. Like
Mhm.
getting up on Monday was really hard. Made it to work. Everything was fine. Like, and then at the end of the day, I was like, "Oh, I messaged you," and I was like, "Did everything just suddenly fall apart?"
Yes.
And he was like, "Yes," and I was like, "Literally, I was outside. The wind changed directions, and immediately my body was like, we're done."
Yeah. No, and it hit me like 30 minutes before you messaged me. I was like, wow,
Yeah.
like out of nowhere.
Yeah.
I hate that. That's the worst, especially when you're having like an okay day and you're like being productive and doing
Yeah.
things. And then all of a sudden your body's like, no,
Done now.
oh, I hate it.
Time to sleep and die.
Well,
I
and
don't know.
what's worse is that I've been trying to like hang out with people again online because I haven't been on much, but I kept having to like bail.
Mhm.
I'd be like, let's do the thing. And then 10 minutes in, I'd be like, I'm feeling like I'm dying. I'm going to stop.
Yep.
I mean,
that was the day I had like those eyeball headaches, which I don't know. I can't call them migraines because they don't last.
right.
But it's like I'm doing something, and sometimes not even like, oh, I was staring at a phone and then my eyes hurt.
Right.
No, sometimes like I'll just be walking through the house and then all of a sudden my eyes, it's just like someone's stabbing needles into them. It was bad.
Needle eyes.
Needle eyes. That was that conversation.
Yep.
Needle eyes. Yeah. Bad stuff. Not fun.
But we survived Monday.
Yes. Tuesday is where it gets really fun. So Tuesday, you had a fun time.
Yeah. Tuesday, I saw David,
Yes.
which was actually really good. We caught up. We didn't even talk much, but he was, again, in the same vein as Anna. He was talking about how we're reliable and he enjoys us.
That's so sweet.
And we got to see the head nurse. Oh, can't remember her name. I feel bad. I should be able to remember her name. Anyways, the one that recommended we see David when New Health shut down. Denise.
Okay.
She was there and she was so excited to see us. She was like, I haven't
Cute.
seen you guys in forever. And then we like caught up in the hallways. And
I love that.
yeah, it was cool.
It's so different to have like really good relationships with medical staff.
It
right?
really is.
Oh, it makes a difference, a huge difference.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Well, and it's so reassuring to hear that like you're trustworthy and that they
Yeah.
enjoy you and you're not just in your head all the time.
yeah. Brother of podcast, Bug, has my medical team now. And he was
Has
talking
my
to me
medical team.
the other day about how he's like, I love Dr. Wright. Like, he's fantastic. And it's so funny how it works because Dr. Wright will be like, oh, this sounds really familiar. Your sister had something like that, like going on. And I can't like tell you what we
HIPAA,
did,
but
right? But this is what I can recommend.
yeah, I
Or
imagine it's like
you can talk to your sister and come back to me. Like,
it's like he's like, so I would look into this thing that a patient of mine has been dealing with.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just sneak it in
and
there.
it's funny because Dr. Wright will comment on how similar we are.
Yeah.
And like all the way through. It's funny.
I wish I had that. No, I love my team. I love my team to death. But I saw David and then I came home and I was like, I'm going to be productive.
Oh, because you were manic.
I was starting. This was the beginning of the mania. So I was like, energy, and I need to move the computer out of here so that I can. This is funny. My hips were hurting and have been. So I was like, it's easier for me to edit upstairs.
Yes.
So I'll set it back up there and we'll be fine.
Yeah.
Give us more space in here anyways, because we're going to do more interview style things. So
Right.
as I'm going up the stairs, I get to like the third from the top
Mhm.
where the chair is. The chair. Oh, and I take a
dreaded
step
chair.
and I slip a little bit and my hip goes, my left hip just pop. And then I try and catch myself and throw out my left shoulder. So there's like two pops in a row and I'm holding my really heavy water-filled computer and trying not to drop it. And
Yep.
I'm smushed by the chair. So I kind of like stumble up,
On
get the
your
computer
knees
down.
to just set it down. Yeah.
And then I couldn't get them back in. So I was like trying to put pressure on it from the wall.
Because it
And
wasn't a subluxation.
no, it was
it
out.
was a like full
Like
dislocation.
my shoulder was from here to like way down.
Yeah.
And I was like, ooh, it's dangly. And I could feel the nerves being
Swing it in a
stretched.
circle.
So I got it back in. And I'm like, okay, I've done the thing. Jen can take over. She's awesome. I'm going to lay down.
Yeah.
And I did. I laid down for a little bit. And then I had to go to the bathroom. And on the way down to go to the bathroom, I slipped on one of the stairs, turned my body, but my leg didn't move, and it popped again. So my hip has been very, very angry this week.
Yep.
Like, I didn't walk for 3 days.
Yeah.
I barely went to the bathroom. I was like, this is going to hurt real bad. So I just stayed in bed.
Right.
But I was also manic, which is the opposite of staying in bed.
And that it does not like bed rest.
That was just Tuesday.
Yeah.
So it gets worse from there.
Yes. Well, and I learned all of this because I came home from a day where I was just pissed. Like,
yeah.
I was angry. Stuff at work had just been a mess. And it wasn't like work was a problem. It was like stuff that I was hearing and experiences and people letting kids down and just bad stuff where I was like, I was just so frustrated with the system. So I came home and I was like, Jim, want to go to the gym? We could go to the gym.
Dude, I wanted to, though.
Yeah. And he was like, I ruined myself. And I was like, oh no. And so I texted the little brother and he and I went to the gym. And that was also like infuriating because he's going through it. Poor bud.
Everybody is, man.
Yeah. It's been hell on earth. I'm done. January can stop it now.
Very.
But yeah, so we went to the gym and everything was fine and great and dandy and we had a good time. I got home and I went to like go inside and so I was on the porch, so I was out back smoking. And I went to go in the house and I just kind of tipped. You know how you like that thing where you're like, oh, I'm falling now?
Yes.
And then I went to catch myself, but it's not the same as when you like take a step backwards to catch yourself. I went to step to the side and I planted wrong and my foot rolled underneath me, got jammed against the hammock stand.
Yeah.
So there was like a round thing on the ground that I just jammed my foot against and folded it underneath me, popped the whole sucker out, and then was just like, are you kidding me? And I was mad. And so I was just fed up and I went to bed because I was like, I'm not dealing with this tonight. Whatever.
No, I was in the same mood.
I don't know how bad it is and we won't know tonight. So forget it. So I went to bed.
Were you able to sleep that night?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like that night it was okay because everything was just like, I don't know. I feel like there's like a threshold where your brain's like, we're not going to feel that.
Yeah.
We'll feel it when it comes down a little bit. But I knew it hurt. Like I knew I'd messed something up.
I get that exactly.
Like I could feel the burning part of it.
Yeah.
But I just went to bed because I was tired. I was so tired. I went to the gym and everything. I was a good girl. And then Wednesday. And let's see. So Wednesday was, I woke up and I could not put weight on my ankle. Like, and it's one of those like, well, I can, but it's agony.
Right.
Like, I could, if I absolutely had to run away from a bear, I probably could. But it was so bad. And it was my right ankle, so I couldn't drive at the time. And so I wound up taking part of the morning off. I got in like 2 hours late, so it wasn't horrible.
Right.
But I had to wait. I had to like get to a point where I could eat and medicate and wait for the medication to kick in enough for me to drive. And then I went to work.
That's going to be the theme for her stories. And then she went to work.
And then I went to work. And then I came home and everything was it hurt a lot. And I was like, I don't know what's going on. And it was a little bit swollen. And I was like, I don't know what to do with this. Forget it.
Yeah.
And then you had a fun time.
I woke up with food poisoning. Yeah. And so did Jen.
Yeah.
So I also forgot that I had choked earlier in the week. On Monday, I had another fit where I was choking.
Oh, yeah. You were telling me you had a lot of chest pain this week.
Yeah. So what happened was I was eating steak that Jen made and it was fine. And it got stuck for like 2 hours. And it's a thing where like if I swallow, it doesn't move at all. Like I can feel the muscles going down. And like if I had water, it wouldn't go past. And it wouldn't move. And it was like I would drink water and then I would vomit, unfortunately. But it wasn't gross because it was literally just
like
water.
My last week. Oh, yeah. I had similar. Go on.
Yeah.
I think it was Tuesday.
It was to the point where I was bleeding because my body was trying to get it to go somewhere and nothing was happening.
Oh, no.
So I had after I got it finally out of my throat, it was sore, like so bad, right? Just breathing, it was making me cough. If I swallowed, I would start wanting to vomit again. Ugh, it was horrible. So I got food poisoning 2 days after that happened. Right?
No, so vomiting on an already sore.
It was not fun. It was so painful.
Bad.
I was so mad.
Oh my God.
I was just livid because I was like, this is horrible. And I babied it. I didn't eat anything. I just sipped on water, but nothing was good. And I don't think I hurt myself that day other than just having food poisoning. Oh, and then I developed a fever.
Oh yeah. And a migraine.
That lasted for days.
Amazing.
Like light sensitivity, sound sensitivity.
I hate that.
And it was behind my eyes and throbbing, and I couldn't.
This week was just bad.
It was bad.
It was really bad.
I was messaging you. I was like, I'm manic.
He was like, I'm not gonna make it,
dude. No, I was not having it.
Yeah.
Everything was wrong, and on every level. I couldn't get comfortable in any positions. I couldn't eat. I couldn't soothe. I couldn't. Like I could ground myself, but it wouldn't last because I was manic. It's like I'm grounded.
You're already antsy, and then it turns into anxiety, and then
yeah. So
good.
that was Wednesday for me.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
I think so. Going back, I think was it Sunday night where I took my meds and immediately threw them back up.
Yes.
I was so angry. I was so mad because I was already like not feeling well and not sleeping.
Yeah.
And everything was just a mess because the pressure was changing and it was gross and horrible and blah blah blah. And I was already fatigued, and I don't know what happened. Like I took my meds and I drank water, and then I barely made it to the bathroom before I projectile vomited across my nice clean bathroom.
Oh,
I don't remember if that was last week or this week, but it was bad.
Yeah.
And I was mad because I was like, this was clean and it's late and I have to work in the morning and now I have to clean this up and I'm not happy. So that was also a thing that happened. Mm-hmm. And I was irritated because it was literally like, and it's not even like, oh, I'm nauseous, I'm going to throw up.
Right.
And it's just that something didn't go down and my body was like, chuck it.
Right.
All of my meds that I had just taken. So I had to take meds from today.
Right.
From my nighttime dose for today.
Oh my God.
To make sure that I had something. So I was like, I literally just took them. Literally. So at that point, because you know how people are like, oh, don't double dose your meds if you throw up. But I was like, no, I drank. I took the meds and then I threw them back up.
Well, when that food got stuck, I took my meds first and then I was eating to, make the meds work.
Yeah.
They definitely came out. And that was part of it too, is that I was sitting there angry because like all my night meds, my Wombo combo, everything was gone.
Aww.
And it's so much, and it had been like long enough that I wasn't going to double up on it,
Right.
But I could taste the meds so that I knew they were out. Yeah.
So bad.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. So that was Wednesday. Not that, but we were on Wednesday.
That was our Wednesday.
So Thursday, I was at work.
Oh no.
And I was sitting there and I was already like, I was on a sore ankle because it had been messed up and whatever. But it was like doing better and it was like fine, whatever. I can tolerate this. And I was sitting. I wasn't doing anything. And my ankle just slid apart.
Yeah.
And it slid apart in a way where my heel just thunked out to the side and everything else thunked out to the front. And I was just like, I was sitting, it was fourth period. It was like an hour an hour and a half to the end of the day.
Yeah.
And I was like, Summer, buddy, I can't walk. Like, I cannot put weight on this. I don't know what to do. Because as soon as I got up to put weight on it, like, I almost went down.
Right.
And it's one of those, like, when you make the surprised ow sound and everyone turns to look at you?
Yeah.
And you're like, sorry, that hurt a lot. And so they had to help me, like, get to my room. And I was in so much pain. Like, the kind where you're shaking and sweating and flushing.
Yeah.
Because it's just so unbelievably painful.
Yeah.
Just absolutely awful. It was like someone was stabbing through the bottom of my foot.
From sitting.
And if I put even weight on my toes, I would get electric shocks going through my whole foot and up my heel and into my leg. So bad. And so I'm like, I don't know what to do with this. So Summer puts me in front of my room. My other coworkers are there. My kids are like running around. And so one of my coworkers, very sweet, she offered to go into my room with my kids.
Yeah.
And so she's doing that. And I'm sitting outside of my room with like our mental health provider. And they're like, I don't know what to do for you. And I was like, can you go down to the office and see if they have crutches or a wheelchair? Neither. We had neither. So I was like, I can't move. And they were like, oh, I can drive you home. I can drive you home. And I was like, I'm not coming back to get my car later.
Yeah.
That's not happening. Because my husband was already stressed out and I was stressed out and I didn't want to come back and I didn't want to make him drive me back.
Right.
So I was like, no, you don't need to drive me home. Like, there's no point anyway. It's going to be dislocated at home. What's the point? And so I sat there. I wrapped my ankle really tight, like super tight.
That must have felt great.
Yeah. Oh. With the like ace bandage because I was like, I don't know what else to do other than like stabilize it and strangle it a little bit so I don't feel it as much. And I finished the day like that. And then 10 rolls around and I can finally like semi put weight on it. But still, like one of my kids literally was so sweet. She's like, can I help you out to the front? Like,
yeah.
Like, she's just the best kid. I love her. And so she was like, she slings my arm around her shoulder. She's like, which side is it? And I'm like, this one. And so she pulls my arm over her shoulder and scoops around my back and is like really taking a lot of my weight actually. Yeah. Gets me to the front. I hobble out to the car and I drive home just in so much pain. And then Randy had to help me get in the house.
Oh my God,
so
dude.
Bad. And that was Thursday night.
Well, really, and that stayed out until
really fun. Until yesterday.
Until yesterday evening.
Yeah. So it was out until Friday night. And so Friday, I wrapped it up. I shoved it in a boot and I got to work. I used my cane for most of the day.
Yeah.
And then I came over here. But I had to have you guys pick up a prescription for me so that
we had to make an emergency drop off.
Yeah. Because it was bad. It was so bad. And it just hurt a lot. Like a lot.
Yeah.
And I was irritated because I have an MRI today. But it's for the left because the left has been the one that's been bothering me so much.
Well, and you're getting the other one done this week.
Yes, on Wednesday.
It's the wrong order.
Right. So now I'm like, dang it. Yeah. But it wouldn't matter anyway because we did get it back in.
I can't remember what I did on Friday. Or Thursday. I mean, it was probably just recovering still.
Yeah, we didn't talk a whole lot because I looked through our messages and it was mostly me going, my foot hurts so unbelievably bad I'm gonna die.
Yeah.
And you were like, my hip is horrible.
Oh so yeah, I wanted to rip it off.
Stayed bad and is still bad.
Yeah, it's not as bad now, but
it's still not great.
No, it's still swollen and I can't get the muscles to fully relax, around it. Like it's guarding all the time.
Yeah.
So
yeah, little brother had to come and he was actually the one because I've had several people try to relocate my ankle. And we just couldn't. Because when Summer tried, when it went out, she was like, I cannot get literally any movement because the heel was out and it was locked.
Yeah. And he felt around like he was like targeted
it and like worked through it and then thunked it. And I was like, I saw God.
If you want to see, it's on the live.
Yeah.
If you look at the Friday live towards the beginning ish.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because he was like all for it. He's like, let's do it. Let's fix it.
Yes. It was good stuff.
But we made it.
We did. And the live was good. We had a good time.
Yeah, both were very good.
Yeah. It's good stuff.
We're enjoying doing the lives too.
Yes.
Like
always. They're so much fun.
They've been growing nicely. Like we're getting lots of people. We're getting some random people from YouTube to show up.
We got called noble yesterday. That was interesting.
Don't know how to feel about
I know. I'm like, I don't know that it's noble as much as it's just like, hello, I will not be hiding any longer.
Yeah, it seems
Look upon my pain and laugh.
Self-centered. Like, we're doing this for us. It has nothing to do with anyone else.
But we love you all.
No. In the beginning, it might have been for us, but it quickly changed. It was
we just didn't think anyone else would.
Yeah.
We thought that our opinions were too off to this. Like, I don't even know how to put it.
No, yeah. Like we didn't think we were relatable at all.
Yeah.
Like, because we have really specific experiences, but they're pretty commonly shared among
Right.
our community of of chronically ill and mentally ill people. So it was just a thing.
And then you had an introspective moment
Oh yeah.
about reflecting on how much we appreciate you guys. And
Yeah, this morning, like I woke up really early. I was up at like 2 or 3, and I was like derping around on the episodes, and I was just like, I really I was taking in the live, and I was like, I really appreciate everyone who participates and watches and leaves feedback, and like the way that it's helped us grow. Like, it's amazing.
Right.
The people we are now would not be who we are without you guys.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. So always, like, please leave us feedback, even if it's just like a comment on the channel, or you're commenting in, or like chatting in the Discord. We read everything together usually, or share things back and forth, because it means a lot to hear from you guys.
It does.
And it's really great feedback when we're not sure what we're doing.
Right.
We're just stumbling through this thing like y'all are.
It's true. But yeah, I wanted to say thank you. Because I really do appreciate you guys.
Me too.
Except you, Ben. You know what you did. Just kidding. I love you, buddy.
Yeah, we appreciate you guys a lot. So stick around. We love you.
Please stick around.
Yeah. And if this is your first time, hang out.
Yeah.
We have a lovely community. All right. Ready to start?
Yeah.
Our topic?
I think so.
So, to live without expectation, to just kind of refresh that idea, is just to separate ourselves from a desired outcome.
Right.
Or the fear of an unwanted outcome.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it goes both ways with, like, there's so much anxiety about the future because it is unknown. And instead of accepting the unknown nature of it, human nature is to try to figure out, like, how are we going to crack this code, right?
Yeah.
Like, how can I be more in control? How can...
It's a control thing for sure.
Right.
Because the unknown is scary.
Yes.
And well, and
but
even...
it doesn't have to be.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's like you always say, it's once you have the information, decisions make themselves.
Yes.
And that's a lot of what to do, really. Instead of, anticipating all the time.
Right.
All the bad things, or...
Yeah.
It like you said, it doesn't have to be bad. It's just you can lose yourself in anticipation or retrospectiveness.
Yes. Well, and I think there's value in looking ahead to see what the possible outcomes could be.
Oh yeah.
But there's a difference between that, like being aware of what could happen, and being stuck on, I want this one to happen and not this one, or I really don't want this to happen. Yeah. But then you're like, oh, I know this is going to happen. You don't.
Right.
You might be correct in your like hunch, but you don't know. Yeah.
Right. Well, and for me, what was my point? I was going to say that there was a time when I was kind of overwhelmed by it all. And that was before we knew what we had, really. Yeah. When it was just, this is forever. And it's just going to get worse. And instead of, taking in what I could do at the time, I was just obsessed with the things I couldn't do in the future. Right. Or assumed that I couldn't do in the future. I had that moment this week, actually, where, was it Wednesday that I cried 3 times in the same day? Yeah. It was Wednesday. I cried a lot. It was great. Wednesday is cry day. Cry break. Yeah. Because I had a moment where I told myself in my little brain and was like, I'm not going to be able to have the future that I wanted to have. Or it was very specific. It was like, I'm not going to be able to have kids. That's not in my timeline. Right. But we don't know. Right. No. But it's so easy to get swept up in the what ifs, and especially when you're in it. Yes. It's it's the worst. and it's hard to live without expectations. I mean, because especially for me, I like to think about all the possible outcomes so that I'm ready. Yeah. Oh yeah. It's kind of a tool. I'm not sure how healthy it is to be like, I could have cancer next week. What would I do then? how would I go about? You know what I mean?
No, okay, so you're thinking about like all of the unknowns and trying to pull from the ether the unknown things.
Well, but it
Okay.
still has stuff to do with like what's going on. But
Okay,
that was just an example of like assuming the worst
Yeah.
and trying to plan for it.
No, that makes sense.
But
Because like, and I think we're both very similar in that aspect where if I'm looking at a decision, or not even a decision really, it doesn't have to be a decision
Mhm.
anyway, but if I'm looking at something and I'm not sure what the outcome is going to be, I explore what the possible outcomes could be.
Exactly.
And then that gives you the knowledge of like, okay, if this, then this.
Right.
If this, then this. If this, then this.
That's how I've always operated.
Right.
Like that's how I functioned for the longest time.
Yeah.
Which is good. Like it's like a anti what's the word I'm thinking of? Thunking. Got a thunk. Whatever, you get the point. But there's also something to be said for being able to just let it be.
Yes.
Like it took me a long time to get to this point where I could be like, I don't know what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not worried about the outcome because whatever happens, I can adjust.
Yes. I think that's huge because like understanding your own ability to problem solve, to think critically, to adapt in situations, to work through things. And I think it comes with age too, where you can look back and you're like, I've made it through everything I've faced.
Right.
Like every single thing I have faced, I've come out the other side. Like I'm standing here right now.
Right.
And so having some faith in your own ability to be able to take those challenges on, I think makes a huge difference.
Absolutely.
But it's also that like, you got to give yourself some credit because guess what? You've made it through 100% of your bad days.
Right.
Thus far.
That's true. I never really thought of it that way. Like that I've survived everything. Yeah. It does come with experience though. The being able to be like, I can do this. Like I remember during one of the really rough patches we had, like right after we had some house issues. Like, I don't know if you remember this time, but like the IRS screwed up our taxes.
Yeah.
And we were losing the house. And like I couldn't get a job and I couldn't keep the job because of EDS, but we didn't know it was EDS.
Yeah.
And that kind of like set me up for failure because I was anxious all the time.
Right.
I was always stressed about every outcome. And it wasn't until a few years after that I developed the ability to be like, you know what? It's okay though.
Yeah.
Like assuming the worst, I can manage.
Yeah.
And I will manage.
Right. Well, and I think like you grow out of that childish piece of you that's like when bad things happen, you just automatically are like, I'm going to die.
Right.
Like, this is it. I can't survive this. It's too much, but you can and you have.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, because there's the big like trauma piece to it as well, where you rack up those wins.
Yes.
Through the loses.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, that's one thing too, is taking your bad experiences and using them.
Yes.
Like,
well, and learning from them and learning how to adapt and learning that you can adapt.
Mm-hmm.
And learning that again, like nothing's forever.
Right.
Right. So even if you're facing something that is extremely challenging and difficult and emotionally raw, it's not forever.
Mm-hmm.
It feels horrendous while you're in it, but there is there's another side.
Oh yeah.
You just have to make it over the hump.
The biggest thing that I just remembered, like the biggest hurdle that Jen and I had to tackle together was when her boss decided to fire her on her birthday because she took the day off and she had there was no reason for her to work anyways. It was perfectly fine. She didn't respond to a text, so he got mad. Decided to fire her.
Power problem.
And then rescinded on his paying for the kid care at the time, which he had explicitly said he would do in texts and in emails.
Yes. And
then
accused her of stealing.
Yeah. So we went from having a job and being stable to not having a job, losing our apartment, and being charged with felony charges of like what was it? It was like theft,
embezzling or something. Yeah.
And forgery.
Yeah. So
and
you had to go to court and prove that
it went on for months.
Bullshit.
Yeah, she had like multiple hearings and we got through it. And when it happened at the time, I remember being like, okay, well, we got this. Like we'll get through it.
It's such a different feeling,
Mhm.
right? Like to hear something that's like, oh, that's really bad.
Yeah.
But you know what? Like, it's not going to end me.
It was when she was in jail because she had to turn herself in.
Oh, yeah.
And then I was like, no, we got this. We'll figure this out.
Right.
And it's weird being confident in a crisis like that.
Yeah.
When you know that it could go really wrong.
Yeah.
But you have, you believe in yourself enough to know that you can get through it.
Right.
That's huge.
It is.
Because otherwise I would have spiraled. And could you imagine like being like, oh, this is it. This is the end.
Mhm.
Like everything's falling apart.
Right.
And then you're not being productive. You're
Right.
just
right. Well,
in
and that
panic.
like that use of emotion
Mhm.
too. Like, and we've talked about this before, where being chronically ill, you have to learn to like measure your energy differently.
Oh yeah, for
and
sure.
that applies to the emotional output as well, where you're like, I could expend a ton of energy being upset and worried and scared and anticipating the worst and spiraling out of control.
Mhm.
Or I'd be like, okay, let's see what happens next.
Right. Take it as it comes.
Right.
Ugh. But yeah.
Like with my ceiling that fell in. So
Right.
Yeah.
You didn't
there
spiral
was
out
no
of
like
control because of that.
panic. It was just like, cool, what do I have to do?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think it's kind of like along the lines of dealing with the crisis in the moment, and then
Mhm.
like dealing with the emotional fallout after.
Yeah.
When there's like a safe time and space.
That's our trauma superpower.
Well, and it's a good coping skill.
Yeah.
From what I was learning from talking to Libby the other day. Is
Which
that
is
I never thought.
crazy.
I always thought it was kind of maladaptive.
me too.
But she said it's perfectly healthy. Like,
Because we tend to delay the emotional part.
yeah.
We're like, all right, crisis, let's handle it. Then we will examine and reflect and deal with that part after.
It's because we're coming
We're
back
gonna
to
do it
it and
later.
visiting it,
Yeah.
and we're not getting like caught up in the moment.
Mhm.
But yeah,
Yeah.
that is a handy skill.
Yes, very much so. Because there's so much that's unsure.
Mm-hmm.
It just is. It's the world is unsure. Your future is unsure. There's environmental stress that comes about where you don't know what your stability is going to look like.
Right.
And especially now, like economically, we don't know what stability is going to look like. We don't know what next year is going to look like. We don't know what the next few months are going to look
Yeah.
like. You don't know. And this is the thing, like we tend to panic over things that are already happening and have already been happening.
Right.
But because it's like a fad in the news.
Oh
or
yeah,
something
getting
like
caught
that.
up into the wave,
Yeah.
like the news cycle on.
Right.
Yeah.
Where you're like, okay, bud, it was already getting out of control before
Mhm.
that, and we were living in it. Our jobs are always uncertain. We never
Mm-hmm.
know if we're still going to be able to work. We never know if you're going to get fired or downsized or any of that. That's still always a possibility,
Yes.
even when we're not freaking out over the economy.
Right. Well, and the brain is a powerful tool in finding trends and
Yes.
making assumptions, and so it's hard to it's not hard. It's easy to fall into the trap of being like concerned about your job in the back of your mind,
Yeah.
and then suddenly now you're seeing all these things going on,
Uh-huh.
and it's starting to build up, and now you're starting to stress about it, and you're making assumptions about how bad things are going to get, and you're not being productive or helpful to yourself. You're
Right.
being lost.
Yes.
Is like the best way to put it.
Right. You're expending all this energy on something you can't control
Right.
anyway, instead of taking care of the things you can control.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of like making sure that you have some nets in place, or instead of
Right.
like really focusing on it, because sometimes we get so caught up in the what ifs that we wind up self-sabotaging ourselves because we're not paying attention
Mm-hmm.
to the next step.
Yeah, I did that a lot in my early 20s.
Yeah.
A lot of my friends did it. Like,
Mhm.
I would see it happen after a while when, like, when I had younger friends
Yeah.
and they would hit a crisis, and then
Yeah.
it's the end of the world. And you're like, it's not. It really isn't.
Yeah.
And it's hard to convey that
Right.
because it just sounds like lip service.
Right.
It sounds kind of dismissive, like, oh no, you'll be fine. It's not what I'm saying. I'm saying is that you have the ability to get through this
Mhm.
if you could just calm, take a
Right.
step back,
Yes.
breathe.
Like pull out of it for a second so that you can observe it.
Yes.
And if you can observe it, maybe you can come to understand it.
Mm-hmm.
And then in understanding, you can then make action steps.
Right.
Because that's really all we can do is like we can control what we can control.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's all we can do. So we can keep stressing about all the things we can't control, or we could go, have I done what I was supposed to do and what I can do?
Yep.
Yes? All right. Now we wait.
Right.
And that's okay.
And that's perfectly fine.
It's okay. It's okay. Because we've said it before, like decisions make themselves when you have enough data. And that's kind of how we take on all of that.
Oh, yeah, for sure. At least now.
Yeah.
Like, did you ever have that phase? Like, maybe, for you, I guess maybe late teens.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when things were going crazy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like with family and you're just like, you don't know what to do because you're too stressed about what could be and what you're going to do instead of.
Yeah. Well, and I think there's also something to be said about like knowing how to use your resources.
Yeah.
And knowing that people are also resources.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think when we come up against these things where we are super stressed about something that could happen, or we're super stressed about something that we want to have happen, but we've done all we can do. Mm-hmm. There are times where we withdraw.
Oh, yeah.
Because we don't want, I think there's still that aspect of shame to it where we feel like as adults, you should be able to handle this on your own, and it shouldn't be other people's problem, and blah, 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 blah.
That was the biggest hurdle for me in my early 20s is I didn't reach out to anybody ever because I was like, I'm failing.
Yeah. And
I should be able to do this.
Right.
I mean, that's kind of the theme
I'm going to look like I'm incompetent and incapable.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's things happen and you can get through them. And man, if I knew what I knew then, like if I knew what I knew now that back then, and that I could handle it, things would have been so much easier and smoother. And it's just ridiculous the amount I would take onto myself and then punish myself for.
Yeah.
You know, like, oh, I deserve this because I got into
You're
this mess.
This is my fault. I did it to myself.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big trap, by the way. If you find yourself in an instance where something has happened and you're like, there's some amorphous reason that you've decided is your fault. And you're oh, it's fine. Don't feel bad for me. I did it to myself. It's baloney. It's a trap that your brain is setting for you emotionally and mentally.
Mm-hmm.
Don't believe that. Like, no, you still deserve to have help. Maybe you messed up, but that's where we like recognize and learn from and take ownership of.
Yeah.
And then we go, I need help.
One thing
I'm messed up
that I had to do in the beginning to kind of remember that, like when I was starting to understand that you could reach out, people would reach out for me for help all the time, right?
Yeah.
And I was never judgmental about it. I was never like, oh, you deserved that.
Yeah.
Or, oh, I can't believe that happened to you.
Right.
This is on. It was always like, okay, now how do we fix this? How can I help? What if you realize that that's how people approach you?
Right.
That there are people, I mean, not everyone will, but in your life, there are people that will help you.
That's such a useful skill too, is being able to like think about things in a different perspective. Because I think this applies all over the place. And I see it with my students all the time where they're like, well, if I've embarrassed myself, you can never show your face again, right?
Right.
But then you're like, okay, so try to remember the most embarrassing thing that your best friend has ever done or a stranger has ever done.
Right.
You probably can't. And if you do, you're like, I guess that might have been embarrassing. I don't know.
Right.
People aren't looking at you and taking a log of all the silly things you like.
Hopefully. there are people out there that will do that, but they're not stable.
No, and they're not the people you
don't want
support from
life,
anyway. So
yeah.
But that's the thing, and we all start out extremely self-centered.
Oh,
because
for sure.
that's how we are. Like, we think about how we experience the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we are the ones experiencing it for us. But then understanding that there's common experiences and that we are a lot of the same when it comes to being human beings and our mannerisms and the way we think and handle social situations. Like, you're not that special. It's okay.
In a good way.
Right.
It's such a weird thing to say. You're not special, but in a good way.
Yeah. Nobody's like, oh, I watched them like trip over their shoe the other day. Pff, lose points there.
it's always good practice to see things as you would for a friend, or how they, treat yourself like you would treat your friend.
Yes.
So if they would reach out and you would help them, you would do the same. Like,
yeah. Right. I
love that. That took me a while to get there, but once I got there,
it's a super helpful skill to have.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Like, let's view you from the outside.
Right.
It's different. It's not the same as viewing you from the inside.
It's that annoying thing where like your friends will be like, "Oh, I didn't want to bother you."
Yeah.
And you're like, "You should have, because I absolutely would have loved to help you." Yeah. It wasn't gonna hurt me.
Yeah. We did it to ourselves, and we did it to each other, and we're still trying to train the younger one out of it. We're like, you're never a bother.
It's not how it works.
We have a loving relationship with one another, therefore you are not burden.
Right.
Stop it.
We had like a 2-year phase of that though.
Yeah.
Like when we were trying to get through it, because we deserved our illness that we couldn't identify, that was made up.
We were like, oh, the other one is suffering.
Right. They're suffering, so I can't say anything. God forbid I make it worse by telling them that I'm not doing a great thing.
Right. Well, and I still suffer with it. Like, I still struggle with it with like my friend group, where I'm like, I'll be having a hard time, but then I see somebody else having a hard time, and I'm like, oh, it's their turn.
Rin has been struggling with this exact same thing too. What the cycle is, and this happens a lot. She'll be hanging with her friends, and then she'll feel away, and then want to express it, but then something else will happen, and she won't. And then she has this emotional baggage, and she has to come and talk to me about it to relinquish it.
Right.
So she's not bottling it up, which is really good.
You can't share it with them in the middle of somebody else's breakdown.
Right. And she'll say that. She's like, I wish I could tell them, but they're in the middle of this thing. And I'm like, well, you can tell me.
Yeah.
Like,
well, that's huge too.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of places you can reach out to, and a lot of different people, and a lot of different formats. And if you're in our Discord, you can always reach out within the Discord. And that's exactly what that's for.
And our Discord is amazing in the amount of experiences that we all have.
Yes.
Someone will have some sort of advice that's relevant and helpful.
Right.
It feels like.
Yeah.
Like, I've seen people post something like really obscure, and then someone will be like, oh, actually, if you try this or look into this, it's beautiful. So like, if you're lost and you need direction, maybe try the Discord.
People are resources.
Yeah.
And they are super valuable resources.
Just don't treat them as tools.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Also, don't be a tool if you can help it. Like,
fair.
Stop that. But yeah, no, it's a lot of skill building that helps us to get to a point where we can focus on the road immediately in front of us.
Right.
Instead of, and I think it goes both ways, right? If we're looking way off in the distance, you're not paying attention to where you're going.
You'll trip.
Yeah. But if you're also looking at your feet, you're going to get lost.
Or walk into something.
Or walk into something, right?
Yeah.
So it's a lot of like, be aware of your here and now, but with data. Right.
Yeah. It's like taking it to the extremes. You can look forward and think that, there are a few things that are likely to happen.
Yeah.
That's fine. You're not overdoing it. Just remember that you have to worry about the now.
Yes.
At the same time, don't just get focused in on what's happening now and be blind to what you need to in the future.
Right. Or where your road is leading.
Right.
Because sometimes we'll take a path and then that path is not leading where you want to go.
Yeah.
But we're too focused on how far we're stumbling all over the place to take the next fork in the road.
Right.
To get off that path.
So when in doubt, talk it out.
Yeah.
Like find somebody and talk about what you're worried about.
Yeah.
See what they have to say. Like,
right. Yeah.
Input, data.
Well, and it always helps to like, what are my action steps? What can do? What do I have control over right now?
That was a big one for me and Jen in the beginning, because she used to panic about everything. And I'd be like, can you control this? Yeah. And she'd be like, no. Like, then don't worry about it.
Right.
You've done what you can do. The rest has to happen naturally.
Right. Because otherwise it's just so overwhelming when you feel the weight of something enormous, when you're really, your responsibility is this big and you're carrying this massive pack that doesn't belong to you. Put it down.
You picked it up from someone else and then you kept adding to it.
Put it down. It's not yours. Knock it off. Like, do your little responsibility and then wait it out. Are you ready for a break?
Yeah.
Is that what that?
Well, and I was looking at the time.
Yes.
We got to keep going because she has an appointment.
Yeah.
So.
We're actually doing really well on time today.
Good.
So
Good.
I'm happy.
What are we going to cover in the second half?
In the second half, I think we need to go more like specific.
Okay.
So maybe on the medical end.
Ah,
is a good
yes.
one to
Perfect.
do. Yeah, that's.
It's a
do
whole
that.
thing.
Let's do that.
Yeah.
All right, friends. What do they got to do?
Send me $1,000 on Venmo. And then after you've done that, I need you to hydrate or dihydrate.
Yes.
Please hydrate. Don't choose the dihydrate option.
Yeah, no, don't do that. That's not allowed. It's not really an option.
No,
It's just there for the funsies. Have a snack because you are a snack.
it's true.
Obligatory snack. There you go.
Take a break if you're in the middle of something and you need to.
Right.
Don't overdo it.
Yeah. Pace yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Take a minute just to like sit with yourself and recognize if you're overdoing it right this moment.
Right. Oh my God.
Check in with you, basically.
Mhm.
Yeah. Find some sunlight or do something nice for yourself.
Exactly.
Get cozy.
And this is the sign that you've been waiting for to buy that thing. I can tell there's something you've been wanting, and now is the time to do it.
Get a puppy.
I didn't say it.
Oh my
She
God.
did.
A child brought a puppy to work this week.
Was it adorable?
Tiny, squishy
Aw.
baby. They're healer boxer pit mixes. And they're just the sweetest. And I told my husband, I was like, I almost fell in love. They brought a puppy and they're good salespeople.
You did fall in love, but you were able
so
to.
Sweet. And he was like, we cannot have another dog. And I was like, I know.
I know.
But then part of me
The
was like,
pain.
but what if I get Chris a puppy?
I was
And
about to
then I
say
can
that.
play
It's like,
with the puppy.
what would happen if
Jen
a
might
puppy
kill
happened?
me if I was like, I found this magic $300 for this puppy. And now you have a puppy. Enjoy.
I think my life would be enriched, honestly.
Don't say that because now I got to get you a puppy.
All right, guys.
Get the puppy. We'll see you in a bit.
Yeah. We'll be back. Promise.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Hey guys, did you know that Fantastic Pains now has a website? On our website, you can find our shop where we will be opening up for custom t-shirts and orders there. You can also find access to our PayPal, Winky Wink. You can buy us a coffee anytime. We would love that. You can also see some of our blog articles, access to recent episodes and our TikTok, and get in contact with us.
You can also find a link to our Discord, which is getting updated pretty soon to include new channels and some games. We would also like to thank our producer for setting up the website. Thank you for supporting us and enjoy the rest of the show.
Indeed. Thank you.
Welcome back. How was your break?
Did you do things?
Any other things?
Maybe it's a thing.
We did.
We found food.
Yeah.
We went outside and it was very cold.
Took the cat with us.
Yeah. To punish him.
He wanted it. Whatever.
And then we talked to our grandfather and we got our title,
Yes.
actually.
So if you haven't read the title yet.
Yeah. The original title was Life Without Expectations, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Or Living Without Expectations.
That was the
One of
working
two.
title. Yeah.
But what is our new title?
Oh, I forgot
Do you
already.
recall?
It is No Expectations, Just Possibilities,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
which is a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And I knew he would like it. Like after we told him,
I know.
like,
I
it'd
was
be
like,
perfect.
he's going to love this one. It's going to be great.
Yeah.
Yes. So, yeah, life is full of possibilities and different avenues and crazy decision trees that go on and forever and ever and ever.
We're just AI chatbots. That's all.
That's how they program those things.
Mm-hmm. But we were going to jump into more specifics, like
Yes.
examples of things that we've experienced.
Right. Right.
Specifically, yeah.
Yeah. So where should we start? You want to start with, let's go possible diagnoses first.
Okay, yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. So we've talked about this before with the like trying on different hats, basically, right?
Mhm.
But we're never stuck on one. There's never been anything aside from like, no, we need to be diagnosed with EDS because that's the only way we're going to get the care that we need.
Right.
And we meet the criteria and you just don't believe in it. We're never stuck on a diagnosis like, no, it has to be this one.
Right.
It's got to be this one. It's going to be this one. That's not how it functions.
Right.
Not how it should function because that can get really unhealthy really fast.
Well, and it's something I noticed when we were talking earlier too, is it all leads to heartbreak.
Yes.
When you're set
Yeah.
on something and you've decided it has to be this thing and it doesn't happen,
Right.
it hurts way more.
Yes.
Like you know, it's like we already saying we don't want to get our hopes up. Like
right.
we would like it to be this.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, if it's not going to hurt us.
Right. Right. Well, and it goes back to that piece of like allowing, I don't know, the wrong answers, or allowing instances of disappointment to lead to better things.
Yes.
So sometimes there's a no and we don't want to hear it, and it hurts, but maybe that no has more and varied options
all the
ahead
time
for you. So being open to encountering those no's and open to encountering the disappointments, and even just like that option, that like possibility that was hanging there, the worst thing happened.
Yeah.
But maybe it's going to lead somewhere okay.
It usually does. I mean, as long as you're being objective.
Yeah.
Right. And you're taking in your options.
Yeah.
And you're not trying to push for it, because that's when things get really bad, I think, is when you get a no and then you're like, no, I'm going to force this somehow.
Right.
Like you see that all the time with people, especially in like pain management, when they're like, I need this thing and I need it now. You know what I mean? Like I've heard people get really upset when they don't get like gabapentin.
Oh,
you know, it's like there are other things.
Right.
But they really want the gabapentin right then and there.
Right.
And then they force it, and then they become like this problem patient.
Yeah. Because
they can't accept other things. It's like what you were doing with the what's it called?
Low dose naltrexone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're being open to it.
We're gonna see.
Yeah. Exactly.
I don't know what will happen, and I'm okay with that.
Right. We're gonna track it. It'll be cool.
Yeah, it'll be exciting. So stick around. We're doing that, I think, on the 14th.
Yeah.
15th. Something
coming up.
Yeah.
But
soon.
It's. I mean, that's a really good example of it, though.
Yeah.
You weren't like, you know, I'm not going to do this.
Right.
It's not going to happen. I'm going to stick with my current treatment plan.
Yeah. No, because that's the thing. Like, we don't know what we don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And there are so many options. And sometimes we close ourselves off to other treatment options because we just don't know about them.
Right.
And we feel safe with what is known.
Yeah.
And that's really the trick of it. And it's about that like control over your own environment and what's going on with you in your own body. And you're like, well, I feel safe with this medication.
Right.
Like we could have been the same way switching from like gabapentin to Lyrica.
Right. Being like,
when
no.
we made that jump.
But
being like, well, my brother had bad experiences. We're not going to do that.
Exactly.
It was like, yeah, well, okay, we'll give it a go.
We'll try it.
We'll see what happens.
Mm-hmm. It also works in the other sense. So like if there's something that you want to try, like, well, in the medical system, specifically, there are things that you'll get stuck in, like because of your insurance and like the requirements.
Oh yeah.
Like you'll be like, I've heard about this thing, and then you gets denied because you're not, you know.
Right.
And it's another situation where you could get your hopes up, being like, I heard really good things about this treatment, but you can't qualify for it.
Right.
And that's painful.
Yeah. That's hard, especially when you're like, well, and we've seen this with other things where insurance is like, yeah, that's the only treatment, and it's not going to happen.
Exactly. That one is the worst.
That's really screwed up, and I'm sorry.
Well, isn't that conversation fun when it's like, here's this thing that works for 80% of the people.
Right.
But
we don't cover that.
You are screwed. And you're like, thanks for informing me of how I don't get to try the thing.
Yeah. They're like, you could pay $150 a month to give it a go.
Yeah.
And then be sad when you can't afford it forever.
Mm-hmm.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a mess. But, and I think that goes into like, we just don't know.
Right.
There's so many things that share so many similarities that do different things. Like people who are like, oh, I've tried antidepressants. And you're like, all of them?
Right.
No, you haven't.
That always makes me so sad when,
I know.
when you read that. Like, I tried one and then it didn't work and then that was it.
Yeah.
And they didn't even give it like the full trial period. And you're like, but it could have worked or something else could have worked.
Yeah.
You know?
Right. Well, that's the thing is like, don't give up. Like there are so many things out there and there are so many doctors out there and like you're going to come across crappy doctors. they're going to suck sometimes.
Oh,
and
yeah.
you're going to want to be like, okay, never mind. I'm going to go. I don't even want to finish this appointment. It's terrible. Because I've had those before where you're like, can we just bail right now? Because this is not good.
Or you could have a doctor who is a specialist in something and then tells you that this is what this term means. And then you could try and correct them. And then they could be like, no, it's wrong. You're wrong. I'm right. Even though you know that you are, in fact, correct.
It's infuriating.
And they just can't let the ego down so that they can't be like, oh, you're right. My bad. I made a mistake.
Right. So you could give up.
Yeah.
And then never know beyond that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're closing that door for yourself instead of like, okay, that did not work. Let's try something different.
Right. Well, it's like we said, possibilities. If you look at it more like possibilities, like a shut door is just possibilities in another form. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Right. So like what we said a couple of weeks ago when we were talking about trying diagnosis on, like if we're like, you get to a dead end, like, no, that doesn't fit. Yeah. And then you revisit something in like a year and you find out that that no actually meant that you can try this other thing out. And...
Right. Exactly. Like, and some doors don't stay shut forever.
Oh, no.
Like you're going to come back to it. It's just not, we get so obsessed about the timelines of things.
Yes.
And we're like, well, what if it's not now, it doesn't exist. And you're like, that is not how that works. And I really hope that's not how you function, because you're going to be sorely disappointed a lot of the time. Yeah. Or people are like, oh, I don't make doctor's appointments because they won't see me for 6 weeks. And you're like, how many 6 weeks have you gone? Yeah. Without making an appointment?
I had that moment when I had the like 2-year genetic wait. I was like, I don't want to see the geneticist because it's going to take 2 years, but we waited it out.
It's a long time.
And then we got to the geneticist and he turned out to not be helpful.
He was terrible.
So like, that's a perfect example. The possibilities opened up from there. Yeah. Because we were able to go into different specialists for other things. And then, you know, it was frustrating. Yes. Right. But not the end of the road.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. You are the only person who gets to decide where it ends. Mm-hmm. So don't self-sabotage.
Please.
If you can help it, there are so many options. Yeah. Now, going into like medical results, this applies the same way, where we can fear a result.
Oh, yeah.
And have no control over what the result's going to be, because you can't. You can't make it come faster. You can't, like...
Well, you're not going to change what it is.
You're not going to be able to interpret it, even if you could get the result. Yeah, yeah. Like, you're going to have to just wait. And hopefully not spin yourself up, because it could be dire, or it could also not.
That happened with that brain mass that I had. Yeah. That was just dropped on me randomly. Yeah. And they're like, well, we're not going to get the results for 2 weeks.
Remember when I had that breast lump that turned out to be a busted vein that bled into the tissue? Yeah. Yeah.
That must have been real fun. Yeah. Like, you know, it's only terrifying.
Other people were more worried than I was.
Yeah.
And we tend to function that way, just in general. Because when I hear like, oh, I had to go to the ER, we're like, oh. What did you learn?
Exactly.
How did that go? Takeaway? Like,
I've actually had to like catch myself with other people. Because like when we talk about it,
flippant.
Right, we're just like, okay, so we went to the ER. But if someone else says it, they're kind of expecting you to be like, oh no,
what happened?
But I'll be like, oh, what's going on? You okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we're kind of monsters that way.
It's very strange. Ugh. My back is mad. It's because I had been limping for so long, and
your entire posture.
Now I have a foot again, and my body's like, why? What is this? We forgot about this. How do we use it?
So, we also wanted to talk about like health insurance.
Yeah.
And how
those environmental stressors.
Yes.
Where we live in a really screwed up world that is not friendly or kind or helpful to people with disabilities of any kind. Yeah. Or illnesses of any kind. Functional or not. That was weird. I didn't even touch it. Yeah. It shocked me and then it stopped.
Weird.
I'm electric.
She's an electric Pokemon.
Sorry, where was I?
We were talking about insurance and how those stressors affect you. Yeah. And they're annoying because they're more prevalent. They're like they're higher up in your priority list. Yeah. And you have zero control over most of this.
Exactly. Especially if you're somebody who can't work.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of us. And like I work and I am like functional, but it takes absolutely everything
Everything.
I have
Oh yeah.
to be as functional as I am.
Mm-hmm.
There's no like leftovers.
No, it's not like it's every day is a struggle.
Yeah.
I don't want to sound mean, but like
But it is.
it is.
Every day is like I have to
You're consciously forcing your way
Yeah.
through it every day.
uphill both ways in the snow carrying a moose on my back.
It's not like you show up to school, do the school, and then come home.
Right.
It's wake up, fight yourself, and then fight yourself some more.
Uh-huh.
And while you're working at the same time.
Yeah. And then crash around like 1:30, 2 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
And then have to push through that crash to make it through the rest of the day.
Right.
And then go home in the crash.
And
try
then
to
continue
eat
to
some
do things.
food
Yeah.
to nourish the body. Like, it's not easy.
Mm-mm.
It's not easy either way. Doesn't
Right.
matter on your functionality. And those environmental stressors can be really difficult when you're talking about like money
Oh,
that you
God.
need
Yes.
to survive.
Mm-hmm.
People on fixed incomes,
Mm-hmm.
where that fixed income may not go up with inflation.
Oh, God, no.
And that is terrifying to have somebody who's like, yeah, my entire paycheck goes to feeding me and housing me, and now my rent's gone up $700 and I can't afford that.
Right.
So what do we do now?
Those are the toughest ones when it's out of your control
Mm-hmm.
and the immediate answer isn't apparent.
Right.
And there are seemingly limitless and very limited options, right?
Yes.
In theory, you have access to all this stuff. You
Yeah.
just get a new job. You could
Right.
just do this thing,
Uh-huh.
but it's never that simple.
Right.
And so you're stuck in the situation where you're out of control, you're stressed out, and you're kind of in limbo.
Yeah. Limbo's the hardest place to be.
Mm-hmm.
It really is. It's super, super difficult to have to just hang in the middle.
Yeah.
Not one thing, not the other. It's just the world we live in is not friendly to our kind.
No. No, and I've been in that situation. Like I said earlier, like when we were losing the house,
Yeah.
when we were like the roommates were jobless and I was jobless and we're all trying to figure it out.
Right.
And my early 20s brain was like, this is all my fault. I've ruined everything. I don't deserve help. I'm going to live in the dark room all alone and never talk to people ever again because I'm a horrible person.
Yeah.
Clearly.
Hello, welcome, depression.
I have failed everything ever. I am rotten. But yeah, and I could handle it now because of all the experience.
Right.
But at the time there was no like take a step back. It's okay.
Yeah.
Take it one step at a time and work your way through.
Yeah.
It was just everything all at once.
The other thing is that there are usually procedures out there for those kind of things.
Yeah.
But the problem is that they make them so hard to access.
Yeah, exactly.
And so this is where you've got to just do what you can do and persevere through all the bullshit, really.
Right.
Like, you're going to get denied for for disability the first time you apply in the United States. The end. That's it.
Yep.
Does that deter a lot of people?
Yes.
Probably. Right? You get denied and you're like, okay, I guess I will continue to suffer. And they stop. But there's a process. And if you follow the process, you can get to the end and hopefully have what you need.
Yeah.
It's just hard to have to persevere through it and keep having those no's pile up in the hope of getting a yes later.
Right.
So resilience is the thing in those situations. And it's hard because I know the feeling of like, I don't want to be strong anymore. I don't want to persevere. I don't want it to be okay. I want it to stop.
Yeah.
I want to not have to like wait for it to be okay anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I'm tired. It's hard. It is hard. But if you are alive now, you've done it.
Fact.
You've already done it. So we know you can.
Yeah.
You know you can. Do it. It's
there is
okay.
empirical evidence to prove that you have made it this far.
Right.
You've overcome.
Exactly. And that's the thing. Things get different. And with jobs and, I mean, if you're on disability, you're on Medicaid, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have some protection there. But then you have people with like jobs that they're having to, like struggling to work, right?
Yeah.
But if they stop, their health insurance is at risk.
Right.
And that is scary. And so you find yourself in this like in limbo, right? Rock and a hard place.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you have to just persevere through the rock and the hard place until you're squished out the other end.
Yeah, no, legit. It's I've been watching a lot of caving videos lately.
Yeah.
And it's like those belly crawls that people have to do. It's not comfortable.
Yeah.
And the only way out is forward.
It's scary,
It's
but you
terrifying.
got to do it.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you're going to stay in it.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't want to do that either.
Yeah, don't stay in the cave. It's got spiders. You don't want spiders.
Especially between no.
Yeah.
No, thank you. Mm-mm.
I don't know why I did that to myself because it makes me really anxious.
Yeah.
But I love it. Like there was a time when I almost went caving, like became like as a hobbyist.
Spelunking. Yeah.
Because there was a bunch of caves in Deming. There's like a cave system underground and all sorts in the mountains.
Oh, that's cool.
And I was like, I want to go. And my stepdad was like, dangerous. No. And I was like, you went? And he was like, and I hated it. It was dangerous and scary. It's like, okay, fair.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, it's hard, but you got to do it. The only way through it is through it.
Right.
And that sucks.
And don't isolate yourself.
Yeah.
Like we said before.
Please.
You can reach out to people. It may not seem like it, especially if it's like a financial situation.
Yeah.
Maybe you just need to talk it through.
Right.
You know, there are other ways you can get help other than being like, I just need money. Give me money.
Right. Well, and they're like, I had a friend who was struggling with like making rent and was panicking because there were a bunch of things that were piling up.
Yeah.
And finally reached out to an in-law and they sat down and they helped them budget and financially plan.
Yeah.
And like they are willing and happy to help you. And different people will offer you different things as far as help, but you're not alone.
Right.
And you don't have to be alone. And it's not your like, maybe it might be a little bit your fault, but
like even if it is entirely your fault,
game. It just is a like, what's next?
Right. I was gonna say even if it is your fault, you're not alone.
Right.
You don't deserve it.
Right.
You know,
yeah.
mistakes
that's
happen.
what I was trying to get to is like you don't deserve it.
Right.
It doesn't have to be blame. It doesn't have to be punishment. It's happening. What are you gonna do?
Mm-hmm.
What is your next action step?
Yeah.
So.
Because I know personally, I'll help if I can in any way.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, absolutely.
And I'm sure that you have someone in your life that is like that will
Yeah.
figure something out or at least try.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They're there for you and we're here for you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So you can always reach out to us or like we said in the Discord. And that's not shilling. It's just because we love our people so much and we appreciate them wholeheartedly and deeply.
We're going to love bomb them.
And a little bit like painfully. It's very weird to be like, why do we attract these wonderful humans? What's wrong with us?
We don't deserve you.
What's right with us, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. But in the end, like, remember that you can't predict the future.
Right.
You
can't.
don't know. And it's okay not to know.
Yeah. I mean, and it's that trap where like you can anticipate things and be prepared.
Yeah.
But you don't want to assume things and then break your heart when it doesn't go the way you assumed it would.
Well, and I feel like the most dangerous one is when you are predicting those like possibilities and you get stuck on one and then you're predicting possibilities from that one
and it's
from that
none
one
of that, yeah.
and from that one. When in reality, oh my God, what is happening?
There you go. You got it.
In reality, it's not real. Nothing you're worried about is real until it has happened.
Yep. That's huge.
Yeah.
You got keeping that in mind is, you know, like what is actually going on right this second.
Right. They're concepts, like they're ideas, but they're not real until it's happening. That's it.
I smell food.
I do too.
Okay.
Smells like food in here. Interesting.
Yeah. You good?
I think so. Anything else?
No.
We wrap it up.
We can wrap it up, I think. Hopefully we talked about everything that you were hoping to get out of it. Yeah. And if not, let us know in the Discord or in the comments.
Yeah.
Wherever you found us.
We're happy to
continue.
Help. Continue the oh my God.
The conversation.
Sorry, my like underjaw is spasming and I can't control my tongue.
Fair. Totally
we would
fair.
Love to continue the conversation. See, I can speak.
She did it.
I know how. Karen just doesn't let me do it.
But yeah, let us know. And then we're still working on the accountability system.
Yes.
We
That
have
channel is open though.
we do have input. We need to go through and have Jen set up the finalized system. But if you're interested in that, check out the Discord.
Awesome.
That was just something I forgot about that I wanted to cover.
Yes, because it's really cool. It's an exciting thing.
Yeah.
And the most important thing is like, don't punish yourself for stuff.
Right.
And if you have goals that you're like working toward and you hit those roadblocks, keep going. It's okay.
Like me, I couldn't work out this week, and
Right.
I wanted to be really upset about it, but
Yeah.
at the same time, it's like it would have been bad.
Yeah.
It would not have
Well,
been productive.
And I sucked at quitting smoking this week. But you know what? This was a cursed week. It was bad from the start. And
Yeah.
I did what I could to get through it. And there's still tomorrow. So.
Yeah. But yeah, hopefully you guys got something out of this.
Mm.
It was a good conversation, I think.
I think so too. It was a really fun one to have.
Mm-hmm.
And our grandfather liked it. So.
Yeah, we're just shilling for him at this point.
Right? He's just the coolest. I'm sorry.
He's an international assassin.
Yeah.
He travels around assassinating
The
evil.
spy guy.
He may seem like he's in his 80s, but he's actually in his 80s and an assassin. He's spry.
He might assassinate your children. But,
yeah, if they don't stop leaving cereal on the floor.
Everywhere.
And then throwing away the note
I know.
explaining it. That's messed up. Oh. Rory. Bro.
Shame. For shame, child. All right, my loves. I think we're going to call it here.
Yep.
Because I got to get in the car and go do an MRI on my ankle for fun.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's what I do with my time.
Fun times.
Fun times. Yeah. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for watching or listening.
Mm-hmm. Thanks for being there.
Yeah.
Just in general. Like we can't reiterate enough how
Yes.
important it is to us that you guys enjoy this and that you stick around.
Yeah. You guys are amazing. And we are so incredibly lucky to have the crew that we have and like people putting forth ideas
Mm-hmm.
that we can build on and put out there. So thank you. And thanks for all the love. Always.
Yeah,
We appreciate it. We might shrink a little bit, but we appreciate it.
we do.
Yeah. All right. We're going to call it. Its name is now Bob.
You
And
can't call
Bob
a podcast Bob.
It's my podcast and I can call it whatever I want.
Good movie reference. If you got
Yes.
it, good for you. If
Good
not,
job.
it's okay. Don't worry about it. But what should they do?
Oh. It's like, that's not how that goes.
That is
But
how that
okay,
goes.
I guess that is how it goes now.
'Cause-
Be kind to you.
yeah.
Be kind to others. And we will see you in the next one.
Bye. Or be mean to others. Be mean to yourself.
Don't.
Never be nice ever.
Don't do that.
Teach them a lesson.
Stop it.
They deserve this.
Just walk
you
away.
are perfect. They are flawed. Don't listen to me. I'm manic.
He's clearly not a mortician, so
That
just
I'm not a mortician. Sorry.
that's the end of that one. Bye bye.